All right, so I just got done watching Amazing Spider-Man: Far From Home, and there's a lot that happened in that movie that kind of sets up what's going to happen next in the MCU. Let's see here. I went to the 12:01 showing at the drive-in. Spider-Man: Far From Home. Took my kids there, and of course, everyone knows that Mysterio was in there. He's kind of an old classic Spider-Man character, but in this MCU they changed stuff up, and they did a pretty good job with Mysterio. He was a kind of likable guy, and then you realize what he's doing. So in this, Mysterio doesn't have any other tie-ins to anything else except for Stark. Apparently he worked for Stark, and he felt slighted. So this is what kind of the movie the premise is Mysterio, trying to figure out what to do, or how to get back at Stark, even though Tony Stark's dead. It is crazy. And then, of course, in the movie, we see that Spider-Man wears a red and black costume after a certain point. It's similar to the Miles Morales, but Miles Morales is all the way black from head to toe with a little bit of red on it. And so they're not really paying homage to Miles Morales here. They do mention the multiverse in this movie, but again, this is a spoiler. Do not watch this if you haven't seen the movie. The multiverse in there didn't exist. Mysterio was talking about it, saying he was from another dimension, Earth number 800 something, when the MCU, the real Marvel Universe, is Earth like 616 or something like that. I think they said 616. Anytime they refer to that, they're talking about the real one with Peter Parker. Miles Morales is from another one supposedly. But if you watch Spider-Man: Homecoming, Miles Morales' uncle, played by Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, he actually shows up in Amazing Spider-Man: Homecoming, and in that scene, he starts talking to Miles Morales on the phone. So there is a Miles Morales tie-in with Amazing Spider-Man: Homecoming. But they kind of don't set that up here. They just show it. Now, Nick Fury is also in this movie. We got where's Nick Fury at? Nick Fury. There we go. Nick Fury. Apparently, he's in the movie. Nick Fury and his Maria Hill, the other agent, is also in the movie, and they're the main guys that are trying to stop Mysterio and trying to get Spider-Man in on the on the action, trying to get him in there while he's on his class trip, to Europe. And so that's one of the parts of the movies that you got to pay attention to. Spider-Man's fighting Nick Fury. Mysterio, Nick Fury, and Maria Hill, and all the other Shield agents are trying to get all this stuff done. But the spoiler: if you continue to watch, you need to stay and watch after the last of the credits, because there's two scenes at the end. And let's talk about the first scene. Let's forget about Nick Fury and Maria Hill for a minute. The first scene, it's J. Jonah Jameson. He's got footage of Mysterio blaming all of the death and destruction and trying to make him look like a good guy. He's blaming it all on Spider-Man. Like, literally, Mysterio is trying to be the hero here, and he tries to blame everything on Spider-Man, even using like the fake recordings, cutting it the way it needs to look to make it look like Spider-Man was the one who didn't care about the civilians and killed a lot of people. And then J. Jonah Jameson actually appears, and it's actually the same J. Jonah Jameson, the actor who played him back on the Tobey Maguire movies, is back on this one. So that's kind of cool. And so the tie-in, you got J. Jonah Jameson. He's out to get Spider-Man again, villainizing Spider-Man, and he's out to get him. And John Jameson, now, if no one remembers, if you don't remember, if you're watching I believe it was on Avengers Endgame. They mentioned John Jameson, an astronaut. J. Jonah Jameson's son, John Jameson, is an astronaut, and they mentioned something about an astronaut. And this could have a tie-in with, say, like Venom or something, because he's an astronaut. He goes to outer space. We know the symbiote is from outer space, so they could have a tie-in to that. But I think it's gonna have more of a tie-in to. I think there's this stone that they mention. You know, he brings back a stone and he becomes one of the villains. And then there's a tie-in with She-Hulk. At one point, John Jameson is a love interest of She-Hulk in the comic books, or he has an interest in her. And when John Jameson came back from outer space on one of his trips, he had these powers that he couldn't control, and they ended up using a Stark suit. Well, John Jameson gives that Stark suit or the technology to She-Hulk in one of the books to keep her powers under control. So we got a J. Jonah Jameson, John Jameson, possibly She-Hulk. There's also this red crystal that he finds in the books at one point, which has this Star God guy that ends up, John Jameson ends up fighting Spider-Man quite a few different times, quite a few different ways, even though Spider-Man saves him, one time. But so that's the first scene. The second scene after the credits, we get Maria Hill and Nick Fury in the car, but then their chin starts to change. And then you realize that during the whole movie, it wasn't even Nick Fury. Nick Fury's out at a SHIELD helicarrier out in outer space still. And Nick Fury used a couple of scrolls. Talos, to be exact. It was Talos and another scroll, a female scroll. So Talos was, hired by Nick Fury to take his place down on Earth to help get Spider-Man to fight Mysterio. And so we're getting this tie-in to the Kree Skrull War, for them to be, moonlighting as Nick Fury and Maria Hill. We're talking about like Secret Invasion, some of that kind of stuff. We didn't get that Galactus thing that everyone's hoping to get. We didn't get a Deadpool thing that everyone's been talking about in Spider-Man, but we did get the Skrulls, and we got Talos right here. This is Talos. Pretty good. That's actually a pretty good picture of him. It's almost like that like that's Talos from the movies coming up soon. So we're gonna get something, and so if we're starting to get some outer space stuff, we might start getting that Venom symbiote thing going on. With Spider-Man donning the slightly black and red. Maybe with Jameson vilifying him and going after him, Spider-Man starts getting back into that black costume thing. But it would be nice if they can get that outer space symbiote storyline, done pretty well. Spider-Man getting that symbiote thing, realizing it's not good and getting rid of it. Venom, Eddie Brock. So, just from watching this movie, this is my take on what I think is going on. We know the Skrulls. They slapped across the face with that one. We know the Skrulls. Could it be the Kree Skrull War? Could it be Secret Invasion? Could be Secret Wars even. Secret Wars in the comics is where Spider-Man did get the symbiote suit. So, that Secret War, that might work. I was looking for any hints of X-Men or Fantastic Four during this movie, and I haven't seen any. And, maybe I have to watch the movie a couple more times just to get all that, stuff. But anyway, yeah, that's my take on Spider-Man Far From Home. We know it's going in the Kree direction. We know Nick Fury was floating in space in a helicarrier and not down there helping Spider-Man. It was Talos, the Skrull, shapeshifter. And so, this MCU, this is the 22nd film of that first set of movies. And so now we need to know, looks like we're getting Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in a couple years. We might get Thor 4. Hopefully we get some of these movies soon. I don't even know what's coming next. Could it be Black Panther 2? Could it be that origin story for Black Widow? Don't know, but, this movie left us with a couple questions. But, the Mysterio storyline looks like that's done for now. So, that's the end of my video, man. This is... It was a good movie, and now I'm excited for the rest of the MCU and what they can do. And that's it. I am out.